You are listening to the CPA Moms Podcast with Dawn Goldberg, CPA. This is episode number 337, Why Every Working Mom Should Write a Reverse Bucket List. Welcome to the CPA Moms Podcast, the podcast where busy female accountants who also happen to be moms like you get practical support and solutions you need to have it all, a successful career and a happy family. If you are looking for the solution to overwhelm and mom guilt, if you'd like to feel better and have more balance, as well as learn how to take back control of your life, you've come to the right place. Hey everybody, welcome back to this week's show. As always, I hope you had a great week. I hope you're enjoying that spring has sprung. I actually bought my first bird feeder for my backyard. We have a deck in my backyard and we put this big giant pergola on it, which I absolutely love. And I got a bird feeder that I can hang so that it stays away from all the other critters that want to eat the bird feed. But I am having so much fun looking out my kitchen window and watching the social dynamics of birds. Who knew that it could be so interesting to watch birds interact with each other? I'm just having so much fun and just looking around the backyard, looking for those little pops of those spring flowers that I just love this time of year before it gets too hot, because I'm not a huge fan of summer, but I really am enjoying spring. So I hope you are too. All right, let's get started with this week's episode. This is episode number 337, and the title is Why Every Working Mom Should Write a Reverse Bucket List. This is going to be an interesting topic. So have you ever stopped to think about all the amazing things that you've done in your life? Right? It's so easy to get caught up in what still needs to happen. But how often do you just take a moment to celebrate what you've already accomplished? Well, the thing is, we spend so much time chasing goals and making plans for the future that we rarely pause to look back. And when we do, it's often to focus on what we wish we'd done differently, not what we actually got right. But what if we flipped the script? What if instead of always thinking about what's next, what if we made a habit of appreciating how far we have already come? Because there's something really powerful about seeing your own growth written down in front of you. It's not about bragging. I'm not talking about being narcissistic. It's not about being overly sentimental. It's really about reminding yourself that you are stronger, you are smarter, and you are more capable than you sometimes realize. So Arthur C. Brooks talks about this idea in his book, From Strength to Strength. And in the book, he suggests creating a reverse bucket list, which is a list of everything you've already done that's meaningful to you, as a way to find happiness and purpose in the present moment instead of always chasing the future. Now, I'm going to explain it more in detail in a minute, but for working moms, especially for us, this kind of reflection can feel like a breath of fresh air, because between work deadlines and school pickups and everything else on your plate, it is so easy to forget just how much you're already balancing and accomplishing every single day. Right? Think about it. Have you ever thought about all the things you've done in the past year alone? Right? We're in mid-March. Think about all the things you've already done since January 1st. Not just the big milestones, but the small victories that probably feel insignificant at the time, but added up to something incredible. Sometimes we just need a little nudge to stop and acknowledge ourselves. And that's where the idea of a reverse bucket list comes in. It's a simple way to see your life through a more compassionate and a more celebratory lens. So here's my question for you. If you wrote down all the moments that you're proud of, what would you discover about yourself? Would you see a woman who's been doing far more than she gives herself credit for? Now, this isn't about adding one more thing to your to-do list or finding yet another way to measure your success. It's about giving yourself the credit you deserve and feeling proud of the life you have built so far. And hopefully by the end of this episode, you might see things a little differently. Not only about what you've done, but also about how you move forward. And trust me, it's going to be worth it. So this week, I'm going to discuss the problem of forgetting to pause and reflect. And then I'm going to talk about the transformative power of a reverse bucket list. So how often do you feel like you're just racing to get to the next thing, the next deadline, the next big milestone for your family, the next vacation, or even the next self-improvement goal that you've set for yourself? It's exhausting, isn't it? Well, for most of us, the moment we cross something off our to-do list, we're already thinking about what's next. There's no pause. There's no moment to take it all in. It's like life has become one big sprint with no finish line in sight. And while that might feel normal, it's actually working against you. And why is that? Because our brains are wired to focus on what's ahead rather than what's behind. Now, this might be great for staying motivated, but it also means we rarely give ourselves a chance to stop, to breathe, and to appreciate how much we've already accomplished. And it's not just about your brain, though. Society also reinforces this constant push forward. Right? Think about it, especially for working moms. There's this unspoken rule that your worth is tied to how much you can juggle and how efficiently you can do it. Productivity has become the gold standard, while personal fulfillment takes a back seat. For example, when was the last time you gave yourself credit for the small wins? Right? Not the big, flashy achievements, but those quiet moments where you showed up, where you made it through, or you handled something that felt overwhelming at the time. Those moments matter, but they often get lost in the shuffle. The problem is when we stay locked in this what's next mindset, we never really feel like we've done enough. Even when we're making progress, it doesn't feel satisfying because we're so busy moving on to the next thing. But what if it didn't have to be this way? What if you gave yourself permission to pause and to reflect, not just once a year, but regularly? What if those moments of looking back could actually help you move forward with more clarity and confidence? Well, I believe it's time to try something different, because constantly chasing the next thing isn't the only way to live. It's a very tiring way to live. So what if the secret to feeling more fulfilled is hidden in the things that you've already done? Isn't that interesting? Well, now I want to talk about the transformative power of the reverse bucket list. So what is a reverse bucket list anyway? Well, a reverse bucket list is basically the opposite of a traditional bucket list. In other words, instead of writing down all the things that you want to do someday, you make a list of everything you've already done that you're proud of. It's like hitting pause and saying, wow, look at what I've accomplished, instead of always focusing on what I need to accomplish or what's next. So think of it as a way to celebrate your journey so far, right? You're not just crossing things off a future to-do list. You're actually looking back and you're giving yourself credit for the big wins, the small victories, and especially the tough moments that you made it through. For example, a regular bucket list might have things like traveling to Italy or running a marathon or maybe getting a big promotion. A reverse bucket list is more like, remember that time I pulled off that big project at work while juggling family life? Or I finally stood up for myself and set a boundary and it felt amazing. It's all about honoring what you've already done instead of focusing on what you still think you need to do. It's not about being perfect or comparing yourself to anyone else. It's about saying, I've already done so much and I am proud of it. Because sometimes we forget to do that, don't we? We're very proud of our kids, right? We'll celebrate anything with our kids. Well, a reverse bucket list is just a way to remind yourself of how far you've come. So the first step to creating your reverse bucket list is to reflect. Now, this doesn't have to be complicated or time-consuming. I just want you to sit down with a quiet moment and think about the highlights of your life so far. Maybe it's personal, like getting through those sleepless nights with a newborn or finding creative ways to make birthdays special during tough financial times. Maybe it's professional, like landing that first big client. Maybe you've passed the CPA exam or you're navigating a demanding project under impossible deadlines. you got through a tax season, or you decided to finally advocate for a well-deserved raise. Reflection is the first step because it often brings up things that you might not have thought about in years, right? You've lived a life. There are things that you have already done. What about the time you juggled 3 kids' schedules while finishing your degree, or when you stepped out of your comfort zone to try something new, like starting your own side hustle or taking on a leadership role at work? These moments matter. These moments are the ones that shape you, and they deserve to be remembered. So that's step 1, is reflect. The second step is to write your list. There is something incredibly powerful about putting it all down on paper. Big moments like buying your first home, buying your first car, running a marathon, these can all share space with smaller, deeply personal wins, like staying calm during a chaotic morning or finding the courage to say no to something that didn't feel right. Maybe it's the time you hosted Thanksgiving for the first time and pulled it off without a hitch. Or maybe it's when you took a chance and introduced yourself to someone who's now a close friend. If you're feeling stuck, think about your day-to-day life. Do you realize how many small victories you've had just today? Like managing work calls while comforting a sick child, or keeping it together during an exhausting tax season. Those moments of grace, those moments of determination, they matter just as much as the big ones. Okay, now the real transformation comes in step 3, and that is to celebrate. This is the part where you sit with your list and you let it really sink in. Maybe you pour yourself a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, and you just take a few minutes to read through that list. Let yourself be proud. Give yourself permission to be proud, not just for what you've done, but for the person that you have become in the process. Because when you take the time to recognize your wins, to celebrate your wins, it's like this gentle reminder to your brain that you're capable and that you're resilient. I'm telling you, this simple act of reflection can quiet those nagging doubts that creep in when life feels overwhelming. And it really does help you to see that even on the toughest days, especially on the toughest days, you have shown up and you have done more than enough. So celebrating isn't about boasting, like I said before, being narcissistic or being unrealistic. It's about honoring the work and the love that you have poured into your life. And I'm telling you, in a world that constantly pulls you towards what's next, it's also a way to find calm and contentment in the present moment. And here's where it gets even better. I suggest that you share this practice with your family. I want you to imagine asking your kids to create their own reverse bucket list. Just think about it. You might hear things like, I finally made the soccer team, or I finally understand that math that gave me such a problem, or I helped a friend who was having a hard day. The thing is, sharing these lists can start a conversation about how important it is to notice and to celebrate what's going right in our lives, not just setting the next goal and going off to the next thing and the next thing. Because you're not just teaching gratitude, you are creating a culture of it in your home. You're not just saying words, but you're teaching them how to find gratitude. This isn't just a one-time exercise. It really is a practice that can change the way that you see yourself and the way you see your journey. Because when you're constantly focused on what's next, it is so easy to feel like you're always falling short. But when you take the time to reflect, to write, to celebrate, you're going to see a completely different story. A story of resilience, a story of courage, and a story of growth. So, my friends, grab a notebook, pour yourself a cup of tea, start writing your reverse bucket list. Because you might just realize that you've been doing better than you ever gave yourself credit for. And that, my friends, that is something worth celebrating, not just today, but every day. All right, I'm going to give you 3 questions now to apply what I talked about in this episode. Question number 1, what are 3 moments in my life that I'm most proud of and why? I love this question. I want you to take a second and really think about this one. What are those moments that make you smile when you look back? Maybe it was standing up for yourself in a tough situation. Maybe it was hitting a goal that you weren't sure you could reach, or even just getting through a really hard day. And these do not have to be flashy. Sometimes the quiet wins are the ones that matter most. Thinking about those moments will help you to see just how strong and capable you are. Question number 2. What small victories have I overlooked that deserve recognition? Great question. It is so easy to focus on the big wins. But what about the small things that made those big moments possible? Think about the times that you stayed calm in the midst of chaos, that you managed to juggle work and family without dropping the ball, or you finally said no to something that didn't feel right. These little victories, they add up, even if they don't feel like a big deal at the time. Sometimes it's the smallest things that can show just how much you're capable of. And question number 3, how would my life feel different if I gave myself more credit for what I've already done? So imagine if, instead of constantly thinking about what's next, you actually let yourself feel proud of what you've already accomplished. Like, how would that change things for you? Maybe you'd feel more confident, you'd feel less stressed, or maybe you'd even feel more motivated to tackle the next thing. Giving yourself credit doesn't just feel good. It can shift the way you see yourself and can help you realize that you are already doing better than you give yourself credit for. All right, my friends, that was episode number 337. Why every working mom should write a reverse bucket list. So I'm going to be real vulnerable here. This makes me emotional because I look back at this past year with my diagnosis of cancer and dealing with chemo and everything that I've been dealing with. And my son just pointed out to me the other day. He said, "Mom, you don't give yourself enough credit." He's like, "You are doing amazing. You just see it as, well, I'm just doing what I have to do." From the outside looking in, I cannot believe how you have handled everything and how you continue to handle everything. And I just thanked him so much for pointing that out, because I'm still dealing with chemo and I'm still dealing with cancer, but I am showing up. I am doing my best, but I don't give myself enough credit. I don't think about the reverse bucket list. I think like, oh, I've got to do this, and in a month or so, I've got to do that. And I'm always like planning ahead instead of stopping and pausing and just giving myself a pat on the back and just acknowledging how far I've come. Like, there's so much value in that. That motivates me. When he pointed that out to me, and I just took a moment to look at myself through his eyes, and I could see what he was saying. Man, I am really, really amazing, and I don't give myself enough credit. So please do not just listen to this podcast episode once and do nothing with it. Please follow the steps. Do your own reverse bucket list. Give yourself credit for everything that you've already done that's gotten you to this moment, because you are amazing. And I'm probably going to guarantee you're not giving yourself enough credit. So I think we all need to do that for ourselves personally, and then for each other. All right. So I gotta go blow my nose now. I didn't think I would get so emotional, but yeah, this topic is really, really amazing. All right, everybody, have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you like what you heard, be sure to click subscribe on your podcast app so you never miss an episode. At CPA Moms, we pride ourselves on being the e-harmony of the accounting world, making it possible for business owners to have their accounting needs met by amazing CPAs that are moms just like you. Whether you are an accountant interested in growing your own solo mompreneur business, or perhaps you are looking for flexibility to work from home, or maybe you are looking to grow your current firm or team, CPA Moms has what you are looking for. Check us out at cpa-moms.com.